Like the
But
door's
it's
still on it,
fascinating,
if
it
you
really
have the
is.
little
You
pass,
see it in important
like
words.
the sound pass, you can
Kids
call
out of
it,
divorces and.
that's
All righty,
the
folks, let's
hallway.
get the real ball rolling on this meeting.
But
Stephen, would you mind leading
That
us in
road
an
on
invocation?
Independence off to the side.
Yeah.
Wow, you
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
flung that one
I
on
see
me.
it all the time,
Okay.
it's vacant, nobody's on
You
it.
always
Oh,
have
no,
one,
no,
though.
there'll never be anyone on it because they
Really? Yes.
set it up for.
All right.
It used to be for buses, right?
Opened.
All right. Heavenly Father, thank you for letting us come here tonight and do the business of the town. It's a privilege to be able to work for the people of the town, and we just hope that you're here with us while we do this work and make sure that we listen and do the best for the town. I want you to take and also just kind of put your hands on the world. I know there's a lot going on here and across the seas, and a lot of people's lives are in turmoil. In these things, I pray in your Son's holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Any public comments? That was quick.
But you might
I
have one.
think-
We got one.
Judge Goodwin meant to sign up.
Oops, thank you.
I just wanted to thank Ms. Cox for the invitation and the opportunity to come in tonight. I'm greatly appreciate the opportunity to get to meet everybody and, of course, see how the great city of Stallings is run.
Welcome, thank you for coming out. Nobody else? All right, next up, the consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. All right, we got reports. I guess I'll lead off. I went to the Union County Economic Forum. Chris Plate and the Economic Group for Union County and Monroe puts that on every year and give us a rundown of where the county is and where it's going in the next year, their projections for where it's going and why. And once again, the overriding detriment to growth is the lack of sewer capacity. We'll get into that another time. Then I went to the Chamber of Commerce Legislative Agenda Forum as well a couple days later, and that was another overriding topic. Sewer capacity is impacting the businesses in the chamber and growth and new businesses coming to the county. So it's a hindrance for us when we do talk about our growth in the town for revenues and growth in the county as well. And then last week I was up in Chapel Hill for the Advanced Leadership Corps. Once I completed that class 2 years ago, every year they have a follow-up, almost like continuing ed class on a Thursday, Friday. And I was up there doing that class, which I'm not demonstrating it very well, but it was learning how to communicate. So I'll put that to good practice later. That's it for me. Any other council members?
No, sir. No reports.
Yes, sir.
I'll do one quick report, and I'll ask you to maybe let Alex do some work for us as a result. So, in fact, you were at another place just this evening. David and I attended, along with the chief, and Officer Ty, or Detective Ty, a neighborhood meeting for Courtyards on Chestnut. So if you drive down Chestnut Lane toward the south end of our town, it's a new neighborhood of, I wish I knew the number of homes, not that many, 30-ish. Here's the issue, and you may remember this, council, when we approved this development a year or two ago. It came through planning board as well. The time it was approved, there was a left turn lane, the development was approved with the anticipation of a left turn lane being added. The state added that requirement in the TIA after the approval. the developer was unable to secure land from adjacent property owner to actually affect enough land to build a left turn lane into the development. So it's problematic. So those neighbors come out, and this was the chief complaint, and they're all nice folks, bought their home with this sort of not a clear understanding that you can't access their homes unless you either turn right, go down half mile, quarter mile, make a U-turn, go through other neighborhoods, go through a church parking lot. It is safe, I guess, by state standards, but it creates sort of an attractive nuisance. You've heard the term, where I can just quickly jump over that median with my four-wheel drive and go the right direction, or I can go the wrong way for about 30 feet. So it's become an inconvenience. I think it's a safety hazard, particularly on the speed of that road. All of that to say, I think the solution, as I talked to our attorney in preparation for that meeting, is purchase of that parcel next door. It's a longer discussion. Maybe we can have time tonight, but I think I'd ask you for permission to have the council, the staff reach out to the town of Indian Trail, which borders this community, also shares the concern because they have a development going on right across the street over the next couple of years. But sort of as a first act, have the manager talk to the town manager of Indian Trail to see the extent of the problem, approach EPCON, the developer of our neighborhood, and the developer of the neighborhood across the street to see if there can be some sort of conversation about land acquisition for stormwater controls, which is a public purpose and necessary in that area as well. That might actually result in enough right-of-way to put a left turn lane in for these folks. That's a long-winded way to say I'm just asking for permission for staff to be able to talk to the developer, get a price of what they may have offered to buy a strip of land that was turned down by the owner of that adjacent parcel, and to start a little conversation internally about what it might take to remedy a fairly odd and traffic movement that I think is unsafe. Yeah.
What does, the stormwater, I don't get the
Yeah.
stormwater's connection with the
Great.
left turn.
Yeah, so the parcel in question, Councilmember Wadowich, is largely in the 12-Mile Creek floodway. I would, if you look geographically at it, it's really undevelopable, a good piece of it. And it's also, to answer your question, at the terminus of the Chestnut Bridge, which washes out periodically, not yearly, but every decade or so, it'll be covered with water with a 100-year flood. It also feeds a problem area downstream in Indian Trail through the Brookhaven neighborhood, where dredging just hasn't happened in their detention ponds over the years. So that parcel could be, that would be part of the exercise, could it be useful as a detention pond that we probably wouldn't do? Indian Trail would probably have to come along and do. That's the nature of the partnership. Expanding the channel, holding more water, slowing down the run down south through Indian Trail. This would be really a true cross-jurisdictional sort of purchase and purpose, help our community, help the one they're getting ready to build across the road with this traffic issue. It might also present an opportunity to solve some stormwater problems in Indian Trail.
So Indian Trail, the town owns that parcel that you're talking about?
I believe it's not in our town. It might be an Indian Trail. I think it is, actually. Yes. Yeah, it's an odd place where our two towns come together. In fact, our neighborhood, EPCON, is in the Indian Trail, quote, side of Chestnut. Their neighborhood they're going to build is going to be on, quote, our side. So we've got some odd lines drawn through there, which sets up a nice conversation. Could we do something together that would be greater than what any of us could sort of do or spend on our own? We might look to stormwater funds as a source, if allowable. They certainly could. That's sort of the kind. It's an idea in infancy, and I told the folks at the meeting tonight that we probably have a 2-year window to fix it if it can be fixed. Otherwise, once that new neighborhood is built, developed, developer done and walked away, I don't know how you'd ever get rid of that. So I'd invite you to drive out Chestnut Lane sometimes and watch it and see what happens there. It's kind of odd.
So What stormwater, was there, on the plans, was there a detention?
Yeah, so if you'll, certainly at the council meeting, several neighbors from Red Barn Trail, which comes around behind the development, voiced vocal and loud complaints about the effect of that development in that floodplain. Now, EPCON built up and added some detention ponds that they report will actually improve the flow of water through there. So there were a lot of stormwater concerns about the development. We approved it knowing that the stormwater measures would improve or not make it worse. But we still have what would be north of that development on the parcel that I was just talking about, and at the bridge is where an opportunity may exist to improve it even further. Does that help? Yeah, it's hard to describe without a map, but I didn't come prepared for that, but.
Yeah, you were just trying to decide whether we're gonna just add it to the agenda, or do you need a consensus to, for staff to?
I think I could just, in the context of report, just see if there's any problem, or can we just have Alex have some permission to go do some investigation, or Kevin or someone.
Yeah, you can make a
Vote, Alex?
Just nodding of the heads, I think is fine.
Okay,
Very comfortable.
yes. Okay. Brad?
Yeah, thank you.
Good to go. Any town committees with a report? All right, town manager.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and good evening, everyone. We've got our annual retreat coming up, so if you haven't talked to our facilitator, Mr. Walton, let me know. I'd be happy to kind of arrange that. We'd really like to have everybody's feedback ahead of time. We've also got several staff reports from, we're going to go in alphabetical order here, Ms. Donnelly, Mr. Shong, and Mr. Parker. So, Ms. Donnelly, thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. I have some exciting updates for you guys. The playground in Stallings Municipal Park actually broke ground last week, and it would have been done today. However, the rain had other plans for us, so it kind of pushed us back to tomorrow is when they said they should be finished. So fingers crossed. The only thing that's kind of holding us up right now is we did put that concrete curbing in there. So when y'all see that, it's actually really going to hold in that mulch a lot better. And if y'all are out here anytime last week, it is crazy the amount of mulch that we've had to put in to really get the grade up. So I really appreciate you guys approving that and moving forward. I think it's going to be awesome for this area. Also, the Greenway, as you guys know, is wrapping up. We did our final walkthrough last week. We have a few areas of concern, nothing too crazy, just some water was sitting there, so we want to make sure before we officially open it that we address that it's exactly what we want. And before we kind of give y'all a date to run with, where we'll have a ceremony for the playground and we'll also have a ceremony for the Greenway. So do you guys have any questions about those two projects?
Is there a date set?
There's not a date set, no, sir.
I thought I read there was something that's not happening, right?
We were looking for the playground to set a date, and then we kind of held off with all the rain. And then also the Greenway, to give a ballpark area, we're probably looking for sometime in mid-March is what you guys should look for. So we'll send out a poll and you guys can all vote on that.
Just one question. Okay, so, I know that originally we were talking about the Greenway was going to open like in July of last year. So is there kind of going to be a lessons learned kind of thing coming out of that? Kind of, we talked about July and it's now about 8 months later, so.
Yeah, I think it's more of probably an advertisement. We probably should have just held that off a few more just to be contingent on, like, rain happened and they kind of ran into a lot of issues when it came to that. I would say is probably the best thing to speak on. And a lot of it has been, since it's relatively flat, a lot of the water is kind of pooling behind residents' homes. So that was something that we're just trying to address. And I think that's probably something, yeah, in the future. But I'm ready to wrap it up. So I'm on the same page as you are.
No, I was just kind of curious, like, you know, this was our first town-led segment. So, I mean, we could have learned some things that we didn't know about.
Yeah, Ms. Donnelly did a great job describing that, and wanted to add one more thing is that the Greenway, as it was constructed, was substantially finished quite a while ago. The big holdup was getting the materials in for the big Hawk crossing signal. Due to some COVID backlog, it just took months and months to get that in. So The bulk of it was substantially completed, and so everything was backed up largely due to that. So, but you're right, we always want to look and make sure how can we do things better. But that was probably the biggest impediment in this situation.
Okay.
Thank you, Eunice.
Thank you.
I guess it's my turn. Council?
How's it going?
So I just wanted to remind council that I sent out an email about the TOD overlay kickoff meeting. I just want to encourage the council to take that poll so we can get that meeting scheduled. It's going to be during the work hours from 11 to 2, and we'll do a site visit, and we'll meet here though and get some food first. So just wanted to give you an update on that. We had a community meeting on Thursday last week where staff is looking to rezone from Town Hall all the way down to Industrial Drive, Town Center. So from VSR to Town Center. We had over 20 people show up for that meeting. And maybe there'll be a planning board and council in the future too. And then staff is also looking to amend the use table to make it more user-friendly and readable. We're also looking to amend some of the uses as well, so we'll bring that back, probably thinking March or April. It's gonna look pretty different, but I wanna bring that into 3 parts, council meetings. So we're also looking to amend industrial setbacks as well to kind of enhance some of the unbuildable properties in industrial. I would say more than half of the parcels in industrial zoning categories are unbuildable because of the setbacks. So we're looking to amend that. And then we're also, we are withdrawing the fee in lieu and streetscape text amendment, and I'm rewriting that to bring back just a streetscape text amendment. And so that has to go back to planning board. So you'll be hearing back from that in March.
One question, sir. So you said we're rezoning to town center. I thought that only the owners of the land could request a rezoning.
I don't believe that's, we advertise for it and give plenty of notice for the residents to do their input.
Okay, I thought, that's good to know. I thought that there had been changes to where we couldn't instigate a rezoning. So,
Not that I'm aware of.
no, really?
Plus, we own 2 of the parcels as well that we're looking to rezone as well, so.
We can initiate an annexation.
Okay,
Local government initiated rezonings are fairly common.
okay, I thought, so I guess maybe it's just the global rezoning piece that was changed. Okay, okay,
I think there was some discussion about the notice requirements. I think the ordinance made it a little more stringent than the state statute based on our last town-initiated rezonings.
okay.
If you weren't, I believe you were on council during,
No, that wasn't.
oh, you weren't, okay.
I mean, I know that we've had a lot of fallout from that. And, I mean, people not knowing that they were impacted by that. And I thought there was like a law change where towns couldn't do those mass rezonings, but, okay.
How would you describe, you said 20 or so people came to the,
Yeah,
how would you
it was very
describe it?
successful. I got a lot of good feedback. I don't have anybody in opposition towards me. Maybe the council meeting will be different.
Okay.
But essentially, the uses there currently will be grandfathered in.
Yeah.
And so as long as they don't, the ordinance says, I think, and there's also state statute says they can't be vacant or out of business for at least 3 years without marketing the property as well for the similar business.
But no
So-
pitchforks and that kind of stuff? It was
No
all just
pitchforks.
information.
I think some people came prepared, but I educated them and we got along really well. So. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Really just, the report I have is more of just a heads up, because NCDOT reached out to staff earlier last week about some signal betterments along this U 4714 Old Monroe widening corridor. And those signal betterments would be improving wood poles to metal poles, powder coating, things like that. I know we recently had that conversation for that Chestnut Parkway project, so we're still doing our homework, trying to get quantities, costs, and some other logistics worked out. But ultimately, just wanted to give you a heads up that we're having those discussions with NCDOT. We intend to give that information to council and then ultimately let council decide if it's something they want to bring onto a formal agenda and discuss formally and make decisions on. So just, again, just a heads up.
Thank you. All right. Any other?
You're next on the agenda.
No, he's not.
Just don't go far.
But don't go far. Agenda approval. Graham?
Yes, so there's one item I would like to add, just for discussion regarding my email from Friday. So-
Refresh our memory. on the
So yes,
topic.
it's about, it's just a discussion of kind of scenarios for the property next door and the properties that we own, making sure we don't miss out on our window for water capacity, sewer capacity. So sewer capacity discussion, I don't know, call it that.
All right, let's make a second.
Second.
All in
Wait.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're just adding that as what item?
Yes, we'll add it as item 5B.
Okay, yeah. So that's good.
Anything else with the agenda?
Make a
Ready to
motion
approve it?
to approve the agenda with the addition of item 5B. Sewer capacity, specific use of the John Deere facility, yeah. Whatever.
No, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All righty. Now, Kevin, you're back up there. Sanitary sewer capacity study update.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes?
Ms. Cox, I think, has an answer to Councilmember Ayers' question.
What I think you were thinking of is that a town cannot initiate a rezoning if it's a down zoning. So if we're taking property that's multifamily and making it single family, you can't make it less dense than it is if it's town initiated. So I think that's probably what you had heard.
More restrictive.
I don't think, I mean, like, we did a lot of MU2, and I guess, I thought I had heard at one point that, like, the mass rezoning, like, again, that there had been passed something that changed that, but it's not that important.
All righty. Kevin, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. So, back in fall of 2023, council approved a sanitary sewer study that would analyze options for bringing sewer capacity, given the sewer capacity issues we're having in Union County, to analyze bringing sewer capacity to really two areas throughout town here. One being, it's kind of one area actually, when you think about it as one, but really over there by 74 in the Monroe bypass, and then this town center area as well, and then the parcels in between kind of joining those as well. And so at that time of that contract approval, we stated that at about the half point of that study, we'd come back and provide council with an update, and then ultimately let a discussion ensue, talk about some potential next steps, and then really get an idea of where this study stands, get some guidance on where to go from this point on, and really just analyze these options. And so staff's been working with Chip Smith from Kimley Horn and helping us coordinate with Charlotte Water, go through some design elements, analyze our demand for these areas, for these two areas. And before I hand it off to Chip, I just want to say that I think we learned some really valuable information with this study. However, there's still a lot of ambiguity. And we still have a lot of unopened questions that I think will get resolved over additional coordination down the road. So just wanted to preface this update with that, and that being said, I'll hand it off to Chip.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Council. How do I click to the next slide? Just the arrow? Yeah. Okay, all right. So we met with Charlotte Water 4 times. In end of November with the director and her assistant directors, just to revisit a meeting y'all had with them maybe a year before that or beginning of 2023. And they directed us to their planning group who manages their sewer capacity assurance program. And we first met with them in December 7th. And one of their first questions, and you'll see here shortly, well, how much flow are you talking about? And so we're like, all right, well, we need to come up with something to look at. And then we met with them on January 18th. We've got some more information from them, and then just most recently, almost 2 weeks ago. So what we've learned, and this is sort of a summary, like you and everybody else, they're seeing a lot of developer interest in the area of 485 and 74. Based on their recent master planning efforts. This is areas served in Mecklenburg County side by 4 Mile Creek Basin. And they have that labeled as capacity limited, sort of like what Union County Water's doing, is that there's no new sewer connections allowed inside of Mecklenburg County. So for any to go outside of their service area makes it even a little more difficult, not impossible. What we learned also is that the expansion of the 4 Mile Creek Sewer Basin project has not been started, but due to the interest they're seeing in that area as well, they're foreseeing initiating a new project. And so that's where we left it with them on February 1st. And Kevin was there with me at the meeting just so he could hear firsthand as well. So what I'm gonna do is I have some maps that we created, and they're gonna build on each other. So if there's any questions at any time, feel free to answer it. So we looked at, actually there's the town center area, the Potter Pleasant Plains area, West Independence, which is kind of where the Atrium Hospital is built in that area, and then the East Independence area. And these areas generally are large areas, but we looked at undeveloped tracts where planning is seeing developer interest. So it's not like we took sewer flows for those entire areas, because parts of them are already served by Union County Water. So this is undeveloped parcels that are in the same situation where they can't get approved for sewer capacity. And at the top is, those green arrows are how any new sewer flows from these areas would get to the Charlotte Water existing collection system. So this next slide. Yeah.
Dashed versus solid.
Okay, good question. So dashed is existing sewer, where the dashed line above the Potter Pleasant Plains area to the west, that's existing sewer, and they come all the way up to the county line. Solid green line would be new sewer that would be required to be constructed and go around the CPCC campus to get to a sewer line that's across 485.
Just, I'm not the best at this stuff. So the dotted lines are existing sewer, which means existing pipes under the ground to
It's gravity
carry
sewer.
waste, gravity sewer to some place.
And they're serving residents and businesses inside Mecklenburg County now.
Okay.
Any chance you could magnify that just a bit, hit the plus button up there?
Sure.
Perfect.
That help?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So as we continue on, so this is,
Drop it down a bit if you need to show more on the screen.
yeah, I can zoom and reduce whatever y'all need. So this is their 4 Mile Creek sewer interceptor or trunk line. They have a 15-inch and an 18-inch right now up to this point right about here, and then a 12-inch line that goes over to their park, the county park, and then there's a line that goes over to CPCC. This area here on the east side, we looked at the only way to get to their system, because 74 is such now a wide roadway, the cost of trying to cross it would be, just makes it not possible. It's just at $7,000 a foot to tunnel under a roadway, and as wide as now 74 and the bypass isn't there, it's just a non-starter. So we looked at going north to their Crooked Creek pump station. And that is a really small pump station, and it would require a lot of downstream improvements all the way to maybe Irwins Creek and McAlpine Creek, which is way up in their system.
Sorry, where is the Crooked Creek pump station?
Pump station, it's right here. And it serves a little area right in here and maybe a few little homes. It's very small. And so any expansion of it would require a replacement of it. It's not impossible, but it's, money can fix anything, but it's just unrealistic to think that a developer could take that on. So then our next slide is, here's what we looked at for generating potential sewer flows from these areas. So the Pleasant Plains Road area would be about 95,000 gallons per day. The town center area, about 50,000 gallons a day. This east area here is about 80,000 gallons a day, and then this west area, this east area is like 278. There's a lot of undeveloped land out there that I think is zoned for single-family residential. To put it in perspective, the Atrium Hospital was approved for 114,000 gallons per day. So you got some areas that are half of that, nearly that, and one that's way, double or more of that. So just kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. So a project like that came in would have some pretty significant upgrades.
So Chip, this was your answer based upon undeveloped parcels to Charlotte Water's question about how much are you talking about?
All right, this is a potential.
Potential, okay.
It doesn't mean you have to commit to it. It's just, we needed to give them a number and a number that.
Okay. Order of magnitude, this is what you see, okay.
So then.
What is the significance of East Independence and West Independence? What does that mean?
It's just the Independence Boulevard is sort of a natural boundary. Also, it's a boundary for Union County Water's sewer basins. East of Independence goes to their Crooked Creek treatment plant, and west of Independence ends up in 12 Mile Creek.
Wait a minute. East Independence goes to?
Yeah, this area is served by Union County Water, and it ends up in their Crooked Creek wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, all right.
That's sort of how we came to that. All right, this is a nice boundary. And so, that slide, there it is, good. So this is the area that Charlotte Water has labeled as capacity limited. It's a general area. It's actually bigger than what we did. We just wanted to fit it onto the slide to show that anything in this area requires a sewer upgrade on their part to accept any future flows, not only for their service area, but if they wanted to consider having capacity in it for you guys.
Do they have a pump station? Do they have a Crooked Creek also?
Yeah, that's this.
It's almost confusing.
Yeah, this Crooked Creek pump station is Charlotte Water's pump station.
Not ours.
Yeah, it borders Crooked Creek for some reason. I don't know the history of it entirely, but it's just the name of their pump station is Crooked Creek. So it does cause a little bit of confusion.
But one is Union and one is Mecklenburg?
Mm-hmm. Any questions?
So there's new numbers in that circle. in white with blue borders, the 145 and one, that's the combination of
Yeah, right.
our potential and their need to, their potential.
This is your potential here, so that's 50,000 plus 95 ends up in the single line here. So that's 145,000 gallons a day.
Okay.
And then if you take this 80,000 and route it all the way around here, then it ends up being 145 plus 80,000 to get to the 225.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So, this is a, I don't want to say a worst-case scenario, but it's just a way to look at the potentials of where the different flows could come from, and then how they have to model their system to see what it would take to upgrade their system to accept flows, not only in Mecklenburg County, but these flows from outside the county.
How big is the 4 mile, their wastewater treatment plant?
It goes all the way down,
I mean, capacity wise?
we don't know and they don't know, and that's the next step. Yeah, that's the,
Don't know their capacity?
they did a model for their treatment, their master plan, but it was a macro scale model, and so they collected flows all the way down, but they know that the model gave them some surcharging conditions that generated being capacity limited, but they need to update their model, and that's what they're in the process of doing now, to say, okay, we need a better handle on what our flows are and what kind of capacity upgrades we need to do, not only to serve Mecklenburg County, but then take a look at what they can do to accommodate these flows.
They're open to the idea.
Yes, they're really easy to work with. I mean, they have interlocal agreements all around their system, anywhere from Cabarrus County, now the town of Belmont is going to be pumping over to them, so they're used to, they even have an agreement with Union County Water.
Like I say, I thought Crooked Creek, if it broke, there would be taking a lot of that.
I'm not sure about Crooked Creek. I know 12 Mile Creek has an agreement. They can send flows from 12 Mile Creek into the system. But the collection, this is the upper end of the McAlpine treatment plant they have, which is in Pineville.
I used the wrong name, yeah.
Yeah, so it goes all the way to Pineville. There was a network of large diameter interceptors.
Are you talking just sewer or water and sewer from,
Just sewer.
okay.
Blackwater sewer. I mean, right?
Which is the issue
Right.
in our county, right? Water's not the issue.
No, water's not the issue.
Yeah, there's plenty of that.
Blackwater.
So you're saying, Chip, so while I am encouraged to see that 50,000 gallon per day dotted line arrow going up to the county line right beside our town center geography, that's encouraging to me that it's there, but it would need to be pulled out, upgraded, resized.
We don't know yet.
Okay.
That's
So we don't know we do know what size is under the ground, I guess, but.
right. Those are, I think, 8-inch sewers, and maybe there's a 12-inch sewer that goes north to 485.
Okay.
I was a bit surprised, too. They didn't know what the capacities were. That caught me off guard, too, so.
Okay.
But
All right.
then,
Said, that's one question, is whether or not that 8-inch capacity can.
yeah, they look at it all the way downstream. They have a map. They wouldn't let me bring it here because it's not it's from a master planning study, and that's why they want to do a better, they're working on it now. In fact, I have a call with them Thursday. They're going to give me an update on where they are. So they've really started working on it, and they requested a copy of this map here to say, all right, we need to know where you want to put flows in our system. So they're actively pursuing it.
And it's already under the interstate, so that cost per foot of going under.
Well, that's one thing they told us, that, so if you see right here, there's the existing crossing here, they know that's under capacity, and they stopped an 18-inch parallel line just short of 485, and their thinking is somebody would have to pay to cross 485.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, there. Now, that's based on what they know today. Come Thursday or after that, that hopefully changes. There's doubt in it. They were.
Okay.
And then the same thing here at the Levine campus of CPCC. They're thinking a second crossing would be required there.
Second crossing or just a larger?
It's easier to do a second one. If you do a larger, you have to, the second one would be larger, but you got to maintain service while you're doing it. You know, it's, yeah.
Gotta hold it for the next 2 months.
Let me zoom out because all my text is not there. So the next steps for Charlotte Water is they're starting to evaluate capacity expansion cost. They hope to complete the evaluation in time to include in their FY26 budget, because they have already in the process of their FY25 budget. And that to get it into that, it's too late for this year. So they would have to hope to get it into next year. And then the CIP year, which the project is funded, will be determined based on the project prioritization with all other sewer projects that they have. And they indicated the best case scenario is that it would get included in the FY26 budget and it could be completed 4 years later. So you would be looking at FY30 before they complete the capacity expansion needed to get rid of this limited capacity area. You follow that?
This is talked about just their side. I mean, as far as our side, does it, I mean, I'm assuming we would still have to get to the border of the county, right?
Right. So, and we talked about in our last call, you know, there is the option of the town to purchase capacity through an interlocal agreement as a part of this project. In other words, let's say there's 100,000 gallons a day. In the interlocal agreement, whatever cost that impacts their project would be passed on to the town, and the town would enter in the interlocal agreement to buy that capacity. Now, you know, interlocal agreements are, I'm not an expert in those, but there's a lot of different ways. It might be that it doesn't come due until the project's finished, would be the best negotiating point. But that capacity, that agreement becomes something that I would think would be an asset to the town that could sell to a developer or to Union County Water, or there's a lot of different ways. We've tried to get a copy of one of them, and they seem to be reluctant. We asked for it in our meeting on the 1st, and I didn't, again, ask today, and we haven't gotten it yet.
Interlocal agreements?
Mm-hmm. They have, no, just a copy of one they have.
Right, I was gonna say, they're all public records. They should.
Well, yeah, I know. That's the next step. I actually did a Google search and I couldn't find it there. But I think, so the options for y'all are, one, do nothing and wait for Union County Water, which, you know, I don't know what the latest is with them. I've heard 10 years. But what I can tell in their board meetings, they're closely monitoring it, their capacity to their favor of not having to do anything. And then the other would be to, you know, consider the interlocal agreement and purchase capacity, and just monitor the process, the project development. I mean, it doesn't commit you to anything. It's just like, hey, when the time comes, is this worth doing or not? You know, it's.
Do you think our participation in a promise to purchase or even an executed agreement would change any priority in their CIP
That's a great question,
work,
and-
or we've got, yeah, that would be a question. Does it, I would have, does it change the nature of their pushing, because it's additional revenue for them long-term? I'd be curious about that
Yeah, it'd almost
dynamics.
have to be a third-party incentive, like there's a developer who wants to build something that's partly in Union County and partly in Mecklenburg County, and then, it's a benefit to them to accelerate it,
Yeah,
something like that. I don't know, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but,
yeah, maybe.
But why did you said Union County is kind of holding back to their benefit? Why is that benefiting? Are they not doing anything, or do we even know?
I know that, they upgraded their master plan recently, but I don't know if it's been published. I don't know if you have seen. Yeah, but when you look at their county commissioners, they get a wastewater treatment plant capacity update almost every board meeting. And they're required by state law that if a plant gets to 80% of its capacity, they have to initiate a design to upgrade it. And then when they reach 90% of permitted capacity, they have to be either under construction or have finished design plans. So that it's all based on flow monitoring, and they recently showed some flow monitoring results that were lower flows than before, and so like 12 Mile Creek was above, and then they actually canceled the bid to expand it, and then all of a sudden in this report, they're now below or something. I don't know, it was just kind of like, all right, I understand they're trying to do this in their favor, because a lot of money to expand a wastewater treatment plant. I mean,
So there's no law or whatever that they have to do something at 90%, or
yeah, that's
there is a law?
the state law. If their average daily flows reach 80%, they have to initiate design plans for expanding it. And then when it reaches 90%, I think they have to be under construction.
Can you look at this, please? Is that the report you're speaking of? That's it?
That's it.
Can you tell us what the percent of permitted flow used is?
So they have permitted capacity, the actual average daily flow, and then the actual percent used, 8.9. And then they have an actual plus permitted obligated flows, that's 6.7. And the permitted obligated are projects that have been approved for development, but they haven't been built. And so
Like that second to last column, what is that one?
the percent of permitted flow used, that's where they're at 89%. But it's the actual number is what they're controlled by.
Okay,
So
what's the last column mean?
percent of permitted flow, that's the committed, that's the actual flows plus
Plus committed?
Right.
Okay.
So what's the actual flows? What's that percentage?
68.9%. Below the threshold of the 80%.
And what's the Crooked Creek one?
53.6 now. And permitted and capacity is 86.1. So that's where they say, all right, well, we can't allow you to connect. Oh, you
That's
went to
all right.
freeze mode. Which report was that?
I don't know if the talk to,
There was one in January. I
probably.
think.
I'll have to ask the friend that gave it to me.
You can dig it out of their agenda.
Thank you. Yeah, I got it, but it's a little hard to fully understand.
Oh, yeah, it's.
But thank you. All right, so do you have any recommendations?
I think you continue to work with Charlotte Water and stay informed of what they're coming up with, their needs for the 4 Mile Creek Basin, and wait to see, what it would cost. Hard to tell right now, you know.
How much
That
of-
doesn't cost anything except me sitting in on a meeting once every 2 weeks to hear the updates on where they are. And
Kevin, you know, they're getting ready to tear up Monroe Road, with this expansion to move, start moving, utilities. Are they gonna be potentially tearing up any of the sewer lines, or to move them? Or, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to figure out here, is there any synergy in the fact that they're digging that whole place up? And we wouldn't want, if we've got to put lines in or things like that there, seems like there might be some workability that, I mean, it would make sense to do that while they're tearing it up the first time, so to speak, instead of come behind them. I didn't know if you know anything about it, or,
So, the only knowledge that I have is from this time last year, when I asked NCDOT, when this just started to be a thought in our head to pursue this with Charlotte Water. They said that, if I remember correctly, I believe they said they were gonna relocate some of the sewer line along Monroe there. I would need to confirm that, but it does look like there is an opportunity to tie this piece in. There could be an opportunity to tie this piece in if,
that would be my only thing, is like, if they're tearing it out anyway, it just feels like there might be some word synergy, but you have to pay half, or just the amount to upgrade it and to connect it versus the whole amount. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there.
right, no, and that's a great thought, and I think that's something that we could definitely pursue and coordinate with NCDOT further, just to see what options we have with, like you said, making that.
I don't know how to make that official, but, I mean, I'd like to know if there's anything there. Does it make sense to pursue this while they're tearing it all up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I have a question.
Sure.
To the beginning, we talked about the contract amount was $100K. What have we spent?
So, the budget was 100,000, the contract amount is about 89, I believe. Gave us a little contingency wiggle room with our approved budget, but when we spent about 45,000.
So this idea of, I don't know if doing nothing and waiting for Union County Water is the right thing to do. I like the idea of keeping options open, and I'm intrigued by the idea of interlocal agreement for future capacity, not just for these projects, but for the town's health in 30 years. I don't think this will be the last time the county might have this problem. So it would be probably a good thing to have an agreement for future capacity. I just don't know much about those. I don't know what it costs. I don't know whose responsibility is to lay the pipe between our new town center retail to the 400 feet to the green line. I just don't know. So it feels like that we ought to keep doing something, and if it's just monitoring for the next several months, I would like to do that. That's what I would do. Because what I'm seeing is that we haven't met my threshold for just calling it off, which was if we determine that there's a fatal flaw, that they're 1,000 feet away from, and it's gazillions of dollars to even pursue this idea, we should stop this contract. I don't feel like you're saying that. It's feeling like there's something more to watch, monitor, communicate with, get some information on Steve's point about coordination with the road, certainly, but more than that, this idea of interlocal agreement, what it might look like.
Two areas to the west, the town center and the Pleasant Plains, Potter Pleasant Plains Road area, that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Just from a required infrastructure improvements. And there's, a chance a developer who'd come in and say, all right, well, you got capacity of Charlotte Water, we'll take it from here.
Exactly, yeah.
That's one option. Also, the agreement can be scalable, whereas you only do the 145, just like I was talking with those two areas. Or you only do 50 or 95, and
Right.
let that play out through the developers of how they would take advantage of that now available capacity.
Yeah, I'd like to just learn more about what those things typically look like. Like you can't find the copy, but let's maybe try to find one and get
Right,
smart
we'll
about it.
keep working on that. And
Yeah,
I hate to use the Freedom of Information Act on my good friends, but
Yeah.
if it comes down to, I'm sure if we talk to Angela, she would come up with it. She's the
Yeah.
director of Charlotte Water.
I have plenty of examples, but not related to this topic. And what I've seen done also in some other jurisdictions is clawback agreements, right? So you figure out how many different developers and what percentage they're using. So it's not the first who's putting the project in is bearing the cost of all of it, right? Because everyone else is going to benefit from it.
yeah. Well, while you were out, David, I mentioned this is probably not the last time that the county in the next 100 years will will run out of capacity if they don't invest. If we're talking about 10 to 20 years to get new treatment plants up and running, this might be just a good thing to know of how do you purchase something that we might use in the future, and how the even agreements work. I'd like to just
I agree
keep
100%.
going down that path.
This is, we're not, I heard just the statement that you haven't heard anything to say, no, let's stop.
Yeah.
I agree. There's still some unanswered questions, and actually, there's some possibilities here. Just figure out how to structure it if it happens.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd like to know, me personally, I mean, I'd like to know a little bit more specific about, because we've heard different rumors that maybe there's already overflow connections that are in the ground between our downtown and these lines. And so I'd like to know what actually is in the ground, and do we actually already connect to them for overflow? I'd just like to know some of the physical, what is actually there today.
Union County Water experiencing overflows in the town, is that what I'm hearing your question?
No, what I've heard, or what we've actually discussed in different meetings, is that there are already overflow lines in the ground that already go to these green dotted lines. And whether that's what I'm saying, is like, we hear this, we hear that. I'd like to know what is actually in the ground. Is there overflow lines already connected to these green dots? I mean, I'd just like to know physically, if they're all the way up to the county line, where does Union County line stop? Do they stop on the other side of the line of the county? I'd just like to understand a little bit about what's actually physically in the ground, and understand, are they 2 feet apart and they just need to be popped together? I mean, it's hard to know. I feel like this is really good from the 100,000 foot. I'd like to know, if I have a shovel and go out there and start digging, what am I gonna see in the ground? That's way more than my back's gonna be able to dig with the shovel.
Charlotte Water's GIS and Union County's GIS, and kind of overlay the two and what we find out, like you're questioning.
Well, and if DOT is gonna move that as part of Monroe Road, certainly they've got some type of plan that's been drawn up, engineering designs that show those pipes being moved. So it feels like the data's there to tell us what's already in the ground and where they go to.
That's a good question.
So just to be more specific, you're wondering, is there sewer in the ground along Monroe Road that is getting ready to be disturbed between the purple and blue areas and that county line at?
Yeah.
I'm curious too. I don't know where the county sewer stops in those locations.
I have to assume it stops at the county line, because there's people that's got to serve right there.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I mean, if they're sitting right there, we will just go down there with our new
Good steer.
steer skid and do ourselves, yeah. I got a couple of hose pipes. We'll just,
Are they long enough, though?
oh, if they're not, man, there's an RV dealership down here. We'll just grab one of their sewer pipes and plug in there.
All right, save us.
All right, any other questions?
Hmm.
We're in consensus to just continue with
Okay.
monitoring it.
I think it's more in monitoring. I think it's these
Well-
specific details too.
It's more of the details, cost.
Investigative and
Right.
coordination, absolutely.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I wrote down several notes, so continue to monitor via contract with Charlotte Water and pursue a interlocal agreement structure. Get some info from NCODOT regarding installing lines as part of the Old Monroe Road project. And a map showing sewer lines in the ground along Old Monroe Road, specifically where the Union County sewer lines are in that area that's been identified. Is that a fair summary?
I think that's both Union County and Mecklenburg County.
We have Mecklenburg here. Nice. Okay,
What's that?
locating Mecklenburg County.
But he said just Union County sewer, but I think it's both. I think it's where the Mecklenburg physical lines are.
That's what's here. That's what he's showing us. That's the dotted lines. Am I not right about that?
It is, but it's like,
You're talking about the branches off the mains and
I'd
all
just
that?
like to see it a little bit more detailed. And how it may be impacted by it.
Okay. The two GISs sound like they would do the trick. All right, everybody good?
Yep. I
Good,
think so.
Alex?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. for
All right,
tonight.
thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Kevin, don't go far.
Yeah.
See him out real quick.
You can do that. Anybody need a break real quick? This is a good opportunity.
Kevin's gone.
I do have a couple of questions for you guys off the record.
We're on the record, so.
You can't say
keep
that in a
mind.
public meeting. Now the public knows you're gonna talk off the record to us.
But it has nothing to do with this, so that's the reason why I'm waiting until we're off the record.
Are we on a pause, recess, or we just, what are we waiting on? Oh,
Kevin's
Kevin.
next up,
Oh, okay,
so
Kevin.
Yeah.
I would give him a chance to,
We did this skid steer already in consent, right?
skid steer.
Yeah.
I apologize, I thought Councilman Hall's item was next. I should have just
No,
jumped right
he's-
into it, I
he's,
apologize.
Oh, I didn't even think about doing that. But no, he's 5B, you're
Got
you're up.
Perfect. Well, hopefully this one's quick and easy. We had about 6 high-priority, larger-scale stormwater projects that were lingering on our list. And when I say larger scale, it would have been about $20,000 or more, so it would have necessitated us coming to council, getting quotes, making sure our prices are competitive. And so what we did, just to, in an effort to be competitive and efficient, we just consolidated all that into one contract, bid it out. Originally, we bid it out right before Christmas. We originally got 2 bids, and so in accordance with the formal bidding process, we had to re-advertise. Didn't get another one, so we still only had 2 bids, but KHC Environmental was the lowest bidder at just under $136,000. And so, requesting council to authorize the town manager to execute a contract with KHC Environmental to perform these 6 stormwater projects at a price of $135,984.
Any questions?
Just one, I noticed that several were in the backyards of property owners on maybe Yellow Daisy. Is that in right of what, or easements?
We do have easements for all of these projects. Yep.
Yeah.
How's the council?
I'll make a motion to approve the stormwater project, 6 contracts with KHC Environmental to perform 6 stormwater projects for $135,984.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
5B, Graham?
All right, so I know we have our brokers, I think, coming in a week, next meeting or so. However, as we just heard, and we've talked about that there is potentially some capacity out there for sewer. And my concern or my thought is not missing the window to get in on that sewer capacity. So I know that if we have any potential tenants, they would submit plans, and there is a possibility that they'd be able to get in, I guess, under the wire, and qualify for capacity. But real estate like divorce ends half the time, so what can we do as a town to potentially have a plan B, plan C, whatever you want to call it, in place? Can we submit our own plan for like the John Deere dealership, have that plan approved so that if there is a future tenant that wants to lease the property, we'd already have that capacity. We'd already be in, I guess, the queue for having capacity approved. Or if, say, a tenant does, or a potential tenant comes along and they've submitted their plan to the county, they get approved and then they back out for whatever reason, financing doesn't suit their needs, can we jump in and assume that approval? So kind of does the approval run with the land, or does it run with the leasee? So these are just like the thoughts I was having, and nothing to be done tonight, but the reason I wanted to bring it up is for going forward, what we might want to discuss with the broker, and then what we might also want to consider doing it sooner rather than later, because I, again, don't want to miss that window for sewer capacity. Because it sounds like we could get in.
Is there, yeah, I mean, well thought, and I appreciate that, because I haven't thought about that. Is there a window? I thought we were just, and I don't know enough about it. Is there a window and this getting ready to close, or is there a bunch of projects that we just need to get ahead of? I don't understand enough about the nature of what the county's done with their permitting approvals. So who knows that answer?
When we've talked,
I know we've talked about it being,
Kevin?
they're not issuing more, they're not doing more.
I think
Is there a window that?
Let me jump in real quick. The numbers he read off the last report that I had been given sounds a whole lot better than what it has been. So it's almost like, well, I don't know how they can get better over time, but they appear to be better over time. Those numbers there don't sound like why would they be capping? So,
The numbers are up. Yeah, I don't know the answer, but
I don't know.
what I've heard at WUMA is that the projects that are wanting to come in, commercial projects that are wanting big capacities and large residential areas, they're heavy capacity. And so it's those projects, those new development projects that there's no capacity for because they're already permitted up to the percentage. And so there is capacity for, again, this is what I've heard in WUMA, there is capacity for onesie twosies, but not huge capacity allotments.
gonna couple that with Alex's note to us last week about a positive response from the county about capacity enough to run a brewery or a similar commercial. Did I read that right? Tie all that together. There is capacity, but we have to get in line quickly for it.
Yeah, so.
I guess I'm trying to get to the sense of Graham's question.
Yeah, absolutely. And Graham, thank you for bringing this up. This is helpful. It'll allow us to kind of package those questions share them with our broker, make sure we come next time prepared to answer. So when you hear different capacities, they're different sewer basins, right? Different areas of the county. Those numbers are different, right? Some areas have more capacity than others. The area that we're talking about here, I'll double check this, but I believe it's about 86, 87%. And
Here being Crooked Creek or 12 Mile?
12 mile.
the tractor dealership property, the
Is-
basin where that is.
It was 12 Mile.
12 mile.
So I'll double check that after the,
Pretty sure
the
it
meeting and send that out, that percentage number. It's, I seem to recall it several 100,000 gallons. Brewery, because I'm told, based on our conversation with the broker, they don't need as much sewer as the water they use. Somewhere like when you're watering your yard, right, you don't need sewer for that because it goes in the ground. Same thing, the brewery takes the water and it goes into the product, the beer. It doesn't go, it's not flushed out in the sewer. So the need for water is greatly higher than the need for sewer. So as far as next steps, my understanding is there needs to be almost an engineering level of work done. As far as planning goes, they need to know how many bathrooms, how many tables are seated there, how many customers you might have, how big are the tanks, you know, things like that, that business owners would know that are setting up. Then from there, they submit it through the county. It is permitted through the county at that point. The capacity is secure, if you will. Does that sound right, Ms. Nichols?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, we have to have the plan before they can say, yes, this plan would take this much sewer. So, you know, to answer your question, I guess the town could come up with a plan, but that's gonna depend, you know, we'd have to have engineering documents and, you know, actual faux brewery, if you will.
We'd have to probably put on our hats and think like a brewery business might be easier for some than others, right?
Yeah.
But
That's a hypothetical. Can you submit a hypothetical for a permit?
I don't think they're gonna allow you
Yeah,
to
I
do
don't
that.
think they're gonna.
that's a good point.
But, wait a minute, but just, I'm taking and extrapolating what Graham said. If we go to them and say we're gonna build a brewery and we don't, I mean, does that, I mean, right now, that property has a capacity, I mean, it's already got a permitted capacity, right? So if we go to them and we don't build a brewery, don't we still have that capacity, or do we have to give it back? Or is there a time period where we can hold it?
Probably waiting and let me give my best response to that.
Okay,
but I
yeah,
also
sure,
wanna
sure. We're
recognize-
brainstorming here.
Let me say, I don't know.
I'm getting a stone tablet out and starting to chisel away. No.
I suspect what happens, and this happens all the time, right, is that developments will submit for permits, and they'll get the capacity, and they'll be on the books, but they never come, right, for probably 1,001 different reasons, right? The financing falls out. And so I believe there's a time frame of how long it's good for. That being said, I think that's something we probably want to kind of go to our broker and do a little bit more research and have them answer, so we can give y'all a direct and straightforward answer that y'all need to kind of consider everything.
So does that property have a permitted amount of sewer capacity as it is today?
Yeah.
Two bathrooms.
Yeah, so I think the issue is gonna be, right, is that, it's got like, a couple bathrooms, like it's just basic retail use, several employees working in there, and a customer every now and going in there and using the bathroom, washing their hands. A brewery would probably have a more intensive demand. We suspect that we probably need a higher level of capacity, but in order to secure that high level of capacity, there has to be kind of some engineering work that's done and submitted to the county. They have to
Okay. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate. That was a grocery store. And so when it was built, was it permitted for John Deere, or was it permitted capacity for the grocery store when it was built?
Good question, I don't know.
And so,
Might depend on
well,
when
they
it was
clean, they,
built.
Like it's old red and white, they probably didn't have a butcher back there. I don't know.
well, I mean, but at this, and they may have capacitized it out the yin yang, right? They may have said, we need 100,000 gallons of water.
But they didn't.
But I guess my question is, that's not here and now. The question is that can I go to, I don't know, the clerk and go, hey, how much is this piece of property currently capacitized for sewer? That's Crystal is who you're working with?
Yes, but, I mean, her office, but yes. But they don't have records at how much exact sewer capacity is for that building. Hence why, we've had Mr. Parker do some
That's okay.
put the camera down the pipes, see what's going on. So, but they cannot tell us exactly how much sewer capacity they are allotting for that building.
So, yeah, so how do we even take and ask them for sewer capacity if we don't know how much we already have?
And that's kind of where we are, and that's when we
Need to answer
are
Graham's
told we need to
question. This is an aside.
submit
About Graham's question is that, because he brought up some good points, but I'm hearing that we can't. What would you do to Grant's question, which was,
Yeah.
is there anything there to do if we can't do hypothetical, put our hats on and design a project? Can we get in line? Is it more about the rules of can you get something in and swap it out if somebody comes in and replaces you? I don't know, but. Well,
So Alex said he didn't know, and I think what the best thing for us to do is to let staff have till the next meeting.
okay.
When the broker's gonna be here and give them some time to find answers. It's very hard to sit up here and make decisions with I don't knows when he's ready to get he'll dig in and find the answer, but he's gonna take a little bit of time.
So are
That's
there
all I
brewery company, places that
Brewers.
have, what,
Yeah, that have
that
expressed it.
want to, did I say it wrong? Brewery, that have already expressed interest?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so they would be the ones that would have to give us a plan? Okay, so why aren't we doing that?
Yeah.
Well, then why are we talking about it?
Well, it's, think about it from a business perspective. If you were wanting to open a brewery over there, it costs thousands of dollars to do engineering plans.
Right,
all the
oh, yeah.
plans. Would you want to do all of that work and pay all that money if you weren't sure the capacity of the building was even going?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, that's why I think Graham's point is good, though, is there a window that we have to do something? Should we do something to preserve something? That's the question. I don't know that we can, but it's worth answering.
And to add on to that, so even if they do submit the plan, if they then later back out, that's my other concern, because you submit the plan, then you have a long process, right? You have to decide if you're going to actually go forward with it, and we may not come to even a mutual understanding in terms of the lease. So they may back out. Again, they might not have financing. So, yeah, did you miss your window? Or can we now assume that plan? Yeah. Does it run with the land, or does it run with the submitter?
I would think it runs with the land, I mean, developers develop something and then sell it to somebody else all the time.
That's what's,
That's what Alex is gonna find out for us.
Yeah.
Alex has got a mission.
That's what I suspect, and we'll
Yeah,
talk with the
I think a
brokers.
lot of things will become more clear once you speak with the broker next week, because there are some things happening right now that with some specific businesses, they're taking place. So if they're far enough along to a point, we can go into closed session and talk about that. Or he can give you more generalized information, but we're just not quite there yet to give you the specific.
One last question. Is Crystal's office close to being able to provide us with something? What is,
You said one last.
well, this is a continuation. So I guess we're here, they're there. Is there a process to get from here to there?
I think Mr. Park and I have both been told in different ways, submit a plan and we'll tell you yes or no.
Nobody wants to submit it.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing it up, Fran. Hopefully we'll have some good answers in a couple weeks at our next meeting. All right, what's next on the agenda?
I move that we adjourn.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good meeting, folks. Thank you.